Assalamu alaikum, Khawatin Hazrat. Welcome to Ambassador's Lounge. Today we are touching upon a very crucial topic to Pakistan's security, and that's the resurgence of Taliban, Tehrik-e-Taliban in Pakistan. Even today, there was a suicide attack in Islamabad. One policeman was martyred, and there were 6 others, including 3 policemen, they were injured. And somehow it was, in fact, these policemen, they paid the ultimate price by blocking that car which carried the suicide bombers. And if you look at it, then this year has been quite, you can say, challenging for Pakistan as far as TTP activities are concerned. Almost 170 incidents have taken place this year, and this is the highest after 2009. So to discuss this, today we have a very eminent defense and political affairs analyst, a dear friend. We served together in Kabul, Brigadier Saad, who was our defense attaché in our Embassy of Pakistan, Kabul. And to discuss these issues, I also have my colleagues, Ambassador Abdulshair Mohammad and Ambassador Tanveer Khas Kheli. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, sir.
And in fact, we were wanting to have you earlier, but now the situation has so demanded that we need your expertise. How you see these resurgence of TTP activities?
You know, it's a very alarming situation, and if I compare the time frames, so we are somewhere in 2009 again. This day, today, we had a suicide bomber attack in Islamabad, and we must thank our policemen. Apart from the other security agencies that, keep these terrorists at bay, these policemen, I think, deserve our respect, that they try to stop these terrorists from attacking some major, important point, which could have caused huge casualties and embarrassment to the state of Pakistan. But the resurgence is primarily because, number one, we have not been able to make the capacity of the police in the erstwhile tribal areas. They were amalgamated in 2018, May 2018. The tribal areas were amalgamated. But after that, no attention has been paid to increase the capacity of the police, which is the front line. And I don't blame the police for that. They have rendered sacrifices. I blame the political forces who have failed to give the capacity to the counter-terrorism capabilities of the police. Also, the coming of the Taliban regime in Afghanistan in August of 2021 also gave boost to these terrorist forces. And despite warnings from very sane people, we somehow supported the Afghan Taliban all the way from 2004 up to the point that they took control of Kabul. We miscalculated, and I think we are paying a price for those policy blunders that we made. So these are the two main reasons that the Taliban, Tehrik-e-Taliban has been able to make inroads into Pakistan. Not only that they have now started hitting sensitive areas, and they have reached the capital also.
You know that TTP activities in Pakistan has been happening for the last 20 years. You may mention the Mehran base attack, the Kamra base attack, the IPS, the Lahore school, Lahore police training school, and so many other places. And this is not the first time that recently in Islamabad it took place, and now we are in a renewed campaign of terror in Pakistan. Do you think it has got some school of thought that they are doing all these things, like no other school of thought in our religion, like the Shia or other Only I think they are attached only with the Bandi school of thought that they are doing all these things, and the political parties like the MMA government from 2002 to 2005, 7, sorry, they were in power, and the Sawat, they had given them full support in Sawat. So Mullah Fazlullah and other Sufi Muhammad also had declared Sharia and all these things. So has got it some relevance with this?
I will not blame the political parties directly for this. They showed weakness because of the terror that they created within these political forces. Somehow the other, this was a perception that the deep state somehow supported these elements. So, because of that, these parties, if you look at PTI or you look at the PMLN or you look at the MMA, they somehow then said that we must negotiate with these people. And if you remember, even the ANP-led government tried to negotiate with these terrorists, and Swat was almost ceded to them in those negotiations that took place. Swat was ceded. And someone thought that, they are going to remain in Swat. Well, they didn't, because these terrorist forces, they will make, agreements just to violate them the next day when they see weakness. And they moved on to Bunair. And it was only Maulana Fazlur Rahman, whom we blame for, being supportive of the Taliban, that he was the first one to warn us that they are sitting on top of the mountain range which overlooks Tarbela Dam, and they are just 160 kilometers away from Islamabad.
So,
that it shook us.
I think Hillary Clinton picked up from the Maulana Fazlur Rahman.
Yes, and it shook us, and then we had to take necessary action to mount the operation both in Bunair as well as in Swat. So, negotiating with terrorists is not supposed to be done. If you negotiate with terrorists, they will one day just violate whatever they have agreed. You look at the Doha Agreement of February 29, Doha Agreement. The Taliban said that, we will not allow Afghan soil to be used against any other country. The aim of the Afghan Taliban is Sharia enforcement within the boundaries of Afghanistan. Has that happened? No. We have 5 terrorist organizations now operating from the Afghan soil. These include Al-Qaeda, this includes Daesh, this includes ATEM, this includes IMU, and this includes the TTP.
So my question in 2 parts. First is that once the Taliban took over Afghanistan, there was a lot of excitement and everything was going on. Number one thing, and it was being portrayed that it is our people who have supported them and they have come back into the power. And since the very beginning, it had been up and down, up and down. Sometimes there's no, we don't support, and each government tried to portray. Do you think our people handling Taliban, they kept on the same road map throughout this period? Or do you think that, they withdrew because of the government? Were they really being reined in by the government?
The Taliban, the Afghan Taliban.
Our people.
I'll add to it that was there a political ownership to this whole project? No. Political ownership, because if I may chip in, as Tanveer is saying, because on one hand we have deep state and on the other hand we have the political parties. Were they on the same page?
No.
Who's owning it up?
Basically? No, I don't think so. They were on the same page. I have all along believed that, foreign relations must be the domain of the political government, and the major contribution should be from the Foreign Service of Pakistan. They are the people who know it better than the military man. I do not, support the military dabbling into foreign affairs. It's not their job. They don't understand things. So they better remain out of it. They can give inputs, the security inputs, but they should not be the ones who should formulate policies. And because of that, there was no political ownership of our policies in Afghanistan. And I had all along, myself, I had been all along in private discussions and even on the media, I had been saying this, that, supporting these forces in Afghanistan will have a very negative effect on the Afghan public opinion. Now, today, I can say safely, being there and talking continuously with the Afghans, 99% of Afghans, whether they are Pashtun or non-Pashtun, are hugely anti-Pakistan. And the Taliban cannot ignore public opinion. So when they talk against Pakistan, it somehow also reflects the public opinion within Afghanistan. So we have earned the ire of the Afghan population, and that is very a point which we will pay a price for quite some time, unless we remain neutral in the Afghan matters.
Is it possible to remain neutral because of the symbiotic relationship and the divided tribes on both sides? Because this is so unique that this has not happened with Afghanistan in immediate neighborhood. There is no common ethnicity between Iran or Turkmenistan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, or China. Turkmens, Uzbeks, and Tajiks, they may have Afghans, but they don't own them. But here we have a symbiotic relationship. There used to be 50 to 60,000 Afghans straddling Pakistan every day. This you cannot. Now, in fact, what the grouse is that you have stopped issuing visas. You are not allowing us to do the business normal. And then when there is a business, there are many hurdles. Our officials are either inefficient or corrupt. So they involved themselves. So you think that is also adding up to these problems as far as Afghanistan is concerned?
It does. You have a point. And my take is that the Durand line issue, and I blame the Afghans for that, not Pakistan, that they somehow have been, taking up this Durand line issue every now and then, and that creates paranoia in the security establishment of Pakistan. Much that, no Pakhtun in Pakistan, I have not seen anybody who favors, even Ghaffar Khan, a man who was a Pashtun nationalist, at a later stage, he was an Indian nationalist initially. Later on, he became a Pashtun nationalist. Neither did he favor any, something common with the Afghan Pashtuns or actual Afghans. We are Afghans on this side, they are Afghans on that side. Even, in his talks that he had with a number of people, he never supported any, common.
He was not supporter of Pashtunistan.
Pashtunistan. Pashtunistan, which included areas of Afghanistan.
Correct.
Because of the 200 years of separation. 1821 was the time that the Durrani Sardars and who were in Peshawar were defeated by the Sikhs in the Battle of Naushera. I don't know whether the Durrani Sardars did take part, but the Pashtun tribes of the Peshawar tribes tried. And they were defeated at Naushera in 1823. After that, we remained under the Sikhs and later on under the British.
Yeah.
So there was no socio-economic compatibility between the Afghan Pashtun and the Pakistani Pashtun. Rather, the languages also became very different. For example, when I went to Afghanistan, I had to learn a lot of words that the Afghans use and we do not use.
Well, they use in the official language, we don't.
Even in private conversation, there were some words that I failed to understand, and I had to. And even Ghaffar Khan, when he went to Afghanistan during the time of King Amanullah, he would ask, "What language are you speaking in? Because I don't understand." So we don't have to fear that fear of the Durand line which the Afghan has created. We somehow want a pliant regime or a friendly regime in Pakistan. That should not be our aim.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
May I?
Yes.
Now, we've been talking of Durand line because this issue, I remember there's an official booklet on it, what the Durand line is and all that. And every now and then it comes up, whether it is Taliban and the government there or anybody else, this word is there. We have to take a very strong stand on it, I think, officially, and because the day Pakistan was created, this became international border. Simple as that.
But Tanvir, let me add here. On Pakistani documents, we have a number of agreements with Afghanistan. And the word Durand line does not appear, it is international boundary. So it is, as rightly pointed out by Brigadier Saad, it's a paranoia created by our security people that some kind of a, big challenge is coming in. This is not the case.
Yeah. Coming to another thing, sir, we're talking of the security issues within Pakistan, for example. You must have seen that, we have our intelligence agencies on the military side, on the civil side, and to do the coordination, we had started with making a NACTA. Do you think that NACTA really worked? Because I feel that, we still lack a lot of coordination on all these things, and probably we don't want to share details of all those kinds. I don't know, fear of unknown or whatever it is, and which is harming the state of Pakistan.
That again question comes, Amjad, will you agree? It's the political ownership.
Yeah.
NACTA suffers from that. Because you talk about security under NACTA, but who are the security agencies different, police, military, others? They are not on the same page. So you have to. So what do you think? Your question.
My question is again about Afghanistan, about the terror attacks. Islamic Emirates of Afghanistan is also bleeding at the hands of IS. And so is the case with Turkey that are handling threats from Iraq and Syria. And now there is the renewed campaign of terror in Pakistan. So how we are going to handle these things? Because I agree with your point that we should not talk to these terror groups. We should simply handle them with strong iron hand and no negotiations. Although the United States of America negotiated with them settlement to withdraw peacefully from Afghanistan, but it is our land and we have to defend it at any cost. So your point, sir.
Our security remains our problem. Nobody is going to fight a war for us. So we have to handle it. Now, internally, there have been some weaknesses in which these terror groups have been able to create space for themselves again, especially in the Waziristan area. They came to Swat also. So they did create space for themselves, which shows our weakness.
But in Swat, there was a reaction. Adverse reaction against the TTP.
Reaction was in Waziristan also.
Against the TTP?
Yes, against the TTP. There was reaction.
So it means there is still ground for optimism.
Yes, there is the people.
General public is not.
When I say that in Baluchistan there is a campaign, there are forces. They are political forces. They are making political demands and they have political support. The TTP has no support within the Pakhtun population of Pakhtunkhwa. They are just a terror organization which is working on its own. It has no ground support.
If that is the case, then in first place, why did we engage them in negotiations?
That was a huge blunder. I thought, negotiating with terrorists is the biggest mistake that we can make. And that was what the reaction came when you say Swat and Waziristan, that is huge, that, they think that the military has been responsible for these negotiations because the political forces, through some messaging, would convey that we don't know.
So what is the support line? Who's providing them arms and all from where it is coming?
These people are financially autonomous. They create their own way. They have their own ways and means of
kidnappings,
robberies, robberies,
and then Indian financing.
Indian financing. There could be other also countries involved in financing. We cannot rule out. There are a number of countries which could be financing.
Definitely.
So these people are financially autonomous. They don't require any much input from other countries. Yes, they do. And then they have support. These organizations, you will be surprised. The TTP would be with IS. The TTP would be with the Afghan Taliban, both mortal enemies. The TTP would be the previous Afghan government. President Karzai, in front of us in 2016, we were going for the Iraq security dialogue. And we had an audience with Hamid Karzai, who was then not a president, but he was living in the ARG. And he gave us an example which is, worth pondering upon. He said, when Nawaz Sharif took over, he can send a message to me that we want to get rid of this TTP problem. And he said, okay, I will. If you are sincere and you stop supporting the Afghan Taliban, I'm willing to have negotiations with the TTP. So the Afghan government was supporting TTP. And he said, we talked to Latifullah Masood. And Latifullah Masood said, agreed, I will come to Kabul and then we can negotiate. He said, as the NDS convoy was bringing Latifullah Masood to Kabul, the Americans came down, lifted Latifullah Masood, took him to Bagram and handed him to Pakistan.
But Latifullah Masood was also found bringing money from the Indian embassy,
Yes,
and it was not a small amount.
yes.
More than $3 million he was in possession.
But you see the American game, that they didn't want the TTP Pakistan rapprochement, and they obliged Pakistan
But
also at the same
aren't
time.
we contradicting ourselves? Then you wanted a rapprochement with the TTP. Now we are saying no rapprochement with TTP.
No, you tried the rapprochement, it failed.
No, it means why then and why now?
So that was also a mistake.
So I think they are a non-state actors.
Yes,
No compromise, because the coercive power is always with the state.
yes.
That is its right, not the non-state actors.
Then
one-liner questions.
We must
gentlemen.
open up another point that I must bring up is that we must open up a track to dialogue with the Taliban, and people who understand the Taliban, who can sit on the ground with them, who can speak the Pashto that they speak.
Correct.
Sit with them on the ground and tell them. And we have so many here in Pakistan.
Speak their idiom.
Speak to them in the same language that they understand. Now, there could be a Pashto speaker, but he's a westernized Pashto speaker. We don't have to use westernized people to
Correct.
talk to the Taliban.
Sir, one last question. We have also engaged the ulama in Pakistan to talk to the TTP, Taliban in Afghanistan, but they could not also succeed in these things.
That was not required. What I'm telling you, there are other people who are religious. I'm not saying that they are not religious people. They are religious. They should be sent to Afghanistan.
Do you think that if we talk of Pakistani Taliban, is it only the Pashtun people, or we talked about Punjabi Taliban also, or from other provinces? So how do we manage them in a way that, as you were saying, that we should send the right people? How do we pick the right people?
Well, I don't want to take names here, but I have a few names who can go to Kabul.
And they will listen
on
to
the
them.
quiet, and
They will listen to
They will
them.
listen to them, yes. Because they must understand this. And, a Pashto speaker can talk in harsh terms with them. I have done that with the Afghan, because they take me as a fellow Pashtun when I talk to them in harsh terms. But no non-Pashto speakers cannot talk to them in the tone that I can talk to.
Well, you have made the point, and thank you so much, Brigadier Saab. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the time we have, and you can draw your own conclusion, but the situation is grave, and the main issue which we have to ponder over is to have the ownership of the problem. And all stakeholders in the country, whether political parties, establishment, they have to take the ownership. Because right now, the kind of wrangling going on in the country, it is in fact giving more oxygen to these terrorists. And the result you will see, and you have seen, that they in fact have started to increase their actions, and that is fatal for the country. Thank you so much. Keep watching. Khuda Hafiz.